we are going to, this evening, recreate an entire Sabbath, an entire Shabbat. And the first thing we're going to do to welcome in the Shabbat is to light candles. And we light how many candles? You can look, it's not going to help you. Anyone? How many do you say?
2.
2 is kind of correct. Actually, we do light 2 candles. We do light 2 candles, but you see some people will have more. So the reason we have 2 candles, we'll see later on when we discuss the idea, is to represent 2 words that represent 2 concepts in the Torah. And the words are shamor and zachor. Shamor means to guard, and zachor means to remember. Because we want to guard the Shabbat, and we want to remember the Shabbat. Guard it means not from profaning it, and remember it to do all the positive actions. So we do 2 candles. But sometimes you'll see families that will put more candles around their candles. Why do they do that? So there is a custom that many people will have a candle for every child. Yeah. So they will do that as well. Okay? It is generally speaking, traditionally, the wife who brings in the Shabbat, because it is the mother who brings in the light into the home. That is the traditional way of doing things. So we're going to call upon a Jewish woman to light the candles. Anyone like to volunteer?
Okay.
Yeah. Anna, come around over here. Stand next to me over here.
Okay.
And you can open up your books to page 1, which is where we see the blessing over the candles. Now, what have you seen people do when they light candles? Anything you've seen people do? I remember you start from the right-hand side, yeah. They do. Yeah, what's going over here? They're like, it's like hot, and they close your eyes. What's all that with that? What is that?
To welcome in the Shabbat.
Have you ever seen me welcome a person and say, hi, nice to meet you?
Yes.
But you're absolutely right. We welcome in the Shabbat. We're welcoming God's presence.
Because it's too holy?
So there's actually a technical reason and there's a spiritual reason. There's always a bit of both, right? So the technical reason is because we are going to light the candles and then make the blessing, okay? Because the blessing really brings in the Sabbath itself. And by doing that, we can't get benefit before we do it. So we basically cover our eyes as if to say, first of all, I'm going to light the candles, make the blessing, and then I'm going to get benefit from the light. That's the technical reason. There's also a spiritual reason, and that is that we're focusing. It's a very, very powerful time in the Jewish home when we light the candles. That's really when God's presence comes into the home, and it's also a very, very good time to pray to God at that moment. Okay, as the light and the Shabbat spirit comes in, we kind of like tap into that energy and pull it in. Okay, so it's a very special holy time, and we find when people close their eyes, they focus better. Have you seen that before? Which is reminiscent of the Shema. When you see the Shema, that prayer, we cover our eyes, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Right, hear a whistle, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. We cover our eyes. I heard one great thinker once say, when you want to see something, you look at it. When you want to see something which is far, you kind of like half close your eyes. When you want to see something that's really, really far, you have to close your eyes and imagine it. Okay, so that's part of the idea that we're closing our eyes to bring in that energy. So first of all, we're going to light the candles. Okay, and then you're going to make the blessing. So you know what, you can do it. You're insured, aren't you? Okay, just checking if you're in. And candlesticks, interestingly enough, are usually passed down from mother to daughter. It's a strong tradition of having them. These are like objects that really have a lot of significance. You did it great. You did it great. So work that out. That's very, very good. And you put it down. And now you're going to say the blessing, which is over here. You can read that.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Asher
kidshonu
b'mitzvotav
v'tzivonu lahadlik nair shel Shavuos.
Very good. Wow, that's like a Spanish version. I like that. That was great. Okay, you hear that? That was straight out of what was it again? Spain. Very good. Honduras. Right. So put your hands over it, and you're going to welcome in the Shabbat spirit. Okay.
Cover my eyes.
And you cover your eyes, and you make a prayer. Okay. Very, very nice. So at this point, it's Shabbat for you. Now, if your husband were to be in the synagogue, he'll bring in the Shabbat there, but this, for you, will bring in the Shabbat, unless you don't want it to, and then you can wait a little bit later. Mm-hmm. Now, notice that it's light outside. How can it be Shabbat if it's light outside? It's still Friday, right? So there's an extra mitzvah to bring in the Shabbat early. To actually bring it in early. It's called Tosef Shabbat, which is not existent by any other Jewish holiday, only Shabbat. Because Shabbat is different from every other holiday. So you actually bring in Shabbat early. Right? It can be half an hour before sunset, which is when it actually begins. Technically, the sun goes behind the horizon. Right? We bring in Shabbat, what we call Shkia. But at this point, you brought in Shabbat and you've added to the holiness, and you've actually we have the power to actually bring the holiness of the holy Sabbath. We'll see why we call it holy a little bit later. Okay? Very, very good. What do we do now? So no washing hands yet. Washing hands is a good thing to do, by the way, but not quite yet. So if we have children, there is a custom to bless the children. We're not going to do that right now, but the mother will bless the children now. There's a father present later on. He will bless them during the meal. We're going to leave that right now because we're all hungry, and we're going to introduce that a little bit later. What happens at this point is you have a meal. So everyone please take their seats and take your books with you. Various objects over here. You can spread yourselves out. We have various objects over here, which we're going to describe. We have something hidden under here. We'll say, oh, don't ruin them. Don't ruin those. I'm joking. I know you know, right? We have salt. Usually it's put into a nice container. We have wine or grape juice, and we have a Kiddush cup. Okay, and we're going to make the blessing was called Kiddush from the word kadosh, to make holy, and this is how we sanctify the Sabbath itself. Okay, each one of you has grape juice in your cups. You can raise your grape juices. Okay, if you want to drink it, you can. After I make the blessing, 1 second. Don't take it easy. Yeah, they're a little excited over there, right? I got the wine. So interestingly enough, people don't realize this is a really big cup. But there's a special thing to fill your cup to the brim when you make a blessing over it. Even if you don't think you're going to drink it all, which I'm not going to because, right? But on Sabbath, even so, we fill, because a blessing, we want our cup to be full and overflowing. Okay? So make the blessing. So the blessing can be, we've got something. I apologize. Page 4. We welcome in the Sabbath with song. Okay? And there's 2 songs that are traditionally sung. I am not a cantor. I'm a rabbi. And in a moment you'll find out why. We sing a song called Shalom Aleichem. Shalom means peace. It also means hello. It also means goodbye. But it also means shalem. Shalem means whole, complete. Do you need to sit down with your leg? You sure? Okay. Shalem means whole, complete, unified. So we say the greeting we give is Shabbat Shalom. As in your Shabbat should be peaceful, but it should be whole, unified. Because during the week we all got chopped up into little pieces. But Shabbat comes, the Holy Sabbath comes, and we become unified as individuals, as families, as communities, and ultimately as people. Okay, more about that a little bit later. Okay? So the song is Shalom Aleichem, and I'll just sing a couple of stanzas so you get a feel for it. You can join in if you want. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Traditionally, each stanza is sung 3 times. There's a few different tunes. So what we're actually saying, so at the bottom is the translation, welcome ministering angels, messengers of the Most High, God, of the Supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. Who are these angels? So there's an idea that on Shabbat, spiritual energies called Malachim, angels, come into our home. And we actually welcome them in with song. And song is a very powerful thing. We like songs. Because when people speak all together, it gets a little bit messy. When we sing together, there's an element of unity. So we welcome in the Shabbat with unified song and with love. And we sing each one 3 times. The last verse at the bottom says, Seitchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon, mi melech malchei amlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Which means, and may you depart in peace. We're talking to the same angels. May you leave. Why are we kicking them out? They just got here. Because they can't eat. Angels can't eat. Only we humans eat. So what do I have them? So they come in, they bring in the Shabbat spirit, they see the beautiful lay table, they see everyone is dressed nicely as they are, not here this evening, but on Shabbat, and they feel respected, and the Sabbath spirit will enter into the home. And that, by the way, we're going to see is a very important thing. So that is sung. There is a tradition to read another one, which I'm not going to do, but you can look at it on page 9. And this is the song called Eshes Chayil, which literally means a woman of valor. And it's a big discussion. We know who wrote it. It was written by King Solomon, the wisest of all people in Jewish history. And this is from one of his books, the last chapter, and actually speaks about the amazing Jewish woman, because in a Jewish home, Friday night is ladies' night. Oh, what a night. Oh, wait, I have a song. Okay. I'm not going to sing that for you. Okay? And there's an aspect to this. Some say that's referring to, most people say, however, it's referring to the love relationship between God and the Jewish people. Okay, which is a long relationship that's taken thousands of years to develop, and it's actually a song of gratitude to God and the Jewish people. Okay? So that is sung. I'll just sing a couple of verses so you hear the tune. Pretty much everyone sings the same tune. It goes, Eshet Chayil miyimsa v'racha p'nini mechra batav balev bala v'shala lo yechsa gumbalau tu tov v'lora kol yemei chayeh adar shatzem ufishtim v'taz b'chav skapiyah hayet akaniyah sochem yimerachak tavi lachma. And it carries on like that all the way to the end on page 10. Fifth line up. Shekerachein vehevel hayofi isha yirat Adonai hi titalel tenula mipriyadeha vihalua b'sharim maseha. And that is sung. And then we make Kiddush for the Friday night. Okay, which is found on page 12. And I will say the Kiddush as it is usually done. And this first part is actually from the book of Genesis that describes the creation of the world and Shabbat itself. Vayerev vayevoker yom hashishi vayachulu hashemayim varas v'chal tzavam vayachalem b'yom hashvi melachto asher asa vayishbot b'yom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa vayavarach Elohim et yom hashvi v'kadesh oto ki v'shava mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Then the blessing over the wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Then page 13. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsha b'ahava uv'rasan hinchalanu zikaron l'maseh v'reshit ki yom techila l'mikol kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. And the people may join in. Ki vanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta Mikol Amim v'Shabbat Kadshecha Ba'ava Uvratzan Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Are you drinking grape juice? Or I have some delicious wine. Is it grape juice or wine? Oh, whoops. Okay. I hope there's no alcoholics here or I'm in big trouble. Fabulous. Okay, so what happens at this point? We want to eat. What's the first thing we eat? The challah, right? The challah. Before we eat challah, we have to wash our hands. Why? We shall see. Make your way to the washing station. Is it there? Next to the sink? No. Okay, so then if you don't mind, just go to should be in the bathroom. No, you want to come around this way. Sorry, Julie, just... Are you okay? What happened to you?
I tore my ACL.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yikes. How'd you do that?
Skiing.
Why, yeah, that's going to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. How are you feeling?
Okay.
Yeah, physical therapy?
For the first time tonight, I do this outfit. Sorry.
Yeah, you had it. That's okay. Make yourself comfortable. Okay, we just wait for my prop. Very uncomfortable right now. See if I can find one more second. Okay, so this is an object which you'll only find in a Jewish home. I don't know why any non-Jewish home would have such an object. So what is this object? And it looks like, I call this the Siamese cup. double-handed cup. So you don't actually need this in order to do what we're about to do. You can use any cup or glass, but I want to show it to you. So when you see it again, and they have different ones with different designs on, but it's called a Netilat Yadayim cup. A cup we use to wash our hands. It's got two handles in it to make it easy, because what we're going to do is we're going to pass this cup from hand to hand. So that's the idea behind it. So what we're going to do is we're going to wash our hands. Now this is a tradition that goes back a long time, and is actually a remembrance to the washing of the hands that the Jewish people and the Kohanim, the Levites as well, used to do before they went into the service. So we kept this tradition as a remembrance to that. Now this is not a physical cleaning. If your hands are dirty, wash them with soap. Then you do this. And the idea is that we take the water and we're going to wash our hands and pour the water over our hands. And the pouring is done, different traditions. Some do it twice on each hand and sometimes 3 times on each hand. Depends if you're Ashkenazic, from European Jewry, or Middle Eastern Sephardic Jewry, do 3 times on each hand. And then you make a blessing. And the blessing you make is, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidishanu, b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu. Blessed are you, God, King of the universe, who sanctified us with the commandments, al netilat yadayim. Al netilat, what are those words? Al netilat. Now, the word netilat means to lift up. Yadayim means hands, not to wash hands, to lift up. Because by doing this, we are, as it were, preparing ourselves for eating. Animals just jump into the food, jump into the bread. We, however, take time, we think about it, and we sanctify our hands, which are the vehicles of action, by doing this, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do it, and then all of you are going to do it as well. And then we have, by the way, following this, the most difficult thing you're going to find in Judaism, which is to keep your mouth shut. This is very, very difficult for our people. And we don't speak until we've eaten the bread, because we connect the 2 mitzvot. Okay? So that's tradition. Now here we only have a small amount of people, 10 people, but if sometimes go to a Shabbat, or with like 20, 30, 40, we have to wait till...
I heard that was only specific to certain people.
Everyone.
Really?
Whoever's about to eat bread or washes their hand, everyone's quiet till they've eaten the bread, till they've eaten it. Okay? So we're going to do that. We're going to make our way straight to the Hamotzi. Who would like to be the blesser over the Hamotzi?
Really?
You're up. Okay. So I'm going to wash. Then you're going to wash. You're going to make yourself the head of the table, and I'm going to coach you over there. So the washing goes like this. Cover all your hand. People like it like this. Don't. You want to cover the hand. Actually, they say, the Talmud says, the more water you use, the more blessing come into your house, and they mean financial blessing. So my friend likes to waterboard himself every time he, right? You like that, and like that, and like that, okay? You don't have to use all the water. Usually you're not speaking, okay? And then you will make the blessing, and then you're going to dry your hands, and then you're shtum until you've eaten bread. Ready?
Yes.
You're up, my brother. Come around. We'll load you up. Now, you may see some people will take their rings off. Okay? There is a tradition that there is a law that if you have rings on your fingers and you normally take them off, if you never take them off, you can leave them on. But if you usually take them off, you should take them off. You see many women will be nervous to lose their rings. They actually put them in their mouth. You see that? There's a famous story of a lady who they said, come wash, and she said, I won't wash. Because why not? Because I don't have a ring. Right? He goes, well, we need to have a ring. Because I see everyone puts the ring in their mouth. It's not part of the ceremony. It's put the ring in your mouth, make a blessing. Happens to be, you don't lose a ring, they put it in the mouth, or put it next to it or something like that, okay?
Are you supposed to wash your right hand first, left hand?
Very good question. So generally in Judaism, it's actually based upon Kabbalah, we treat the right hand with more respect than the left. It's actually Kabbalistic because the entire body is split into 2, right side and left side. And the right side is the idea of mercy, God's mercy, as opposed to God's judgment. So we actually do mitzvah with the right hand. So we fill up with the right hand, then we actually pass it to the left and pour onto the right hand, even if you're a lefty. That's interesting, all right? Okay, so you're going to take that. You're going to pour twice into your right hand. 1, 2, and 2. Very, very good. And then twice into your left hand. Okay, and you're going to make the blessing. Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, you don't say amen to your own blessing. You learned a good lesson. Throw it in the garbage. Go sit down in my seat and don't say a word. Meditate. And no phones at Shabbos. Okay, who's up next? You're up. There you go. Twice. 1, 2. Good. That's a good wash. Oh, yeah, good. You're good. I had a friend who was a doctor, actually. He found it very easy to, after scrub up, not to touch anything else, because he kept doing this. So the blessing, Baruch, Ata, Melech Ha'olam, Asher, Kiddishanu, B'mitzvotav, V'tzivanu, Al, Netilat, Yadayim. Beautiful. Go sit down. No speaking. Let's go. Hello. So take into your left hand. So twice onto your right. 1, 2. And twice onto your left hand. And again. Yeah, don't be shy. Okay, and the blessing, Baruch, Ata, Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech Ha'olam, Asher, Kiddishanu, B'mitzvotav, V'tzivanu, Al, Netilat, Yadayim. Very good. Put it in the garbage. You may be seated. No speaking. Okay, we're flowing over here. Okay, you're up. Okay, twice into the right. 1, 2. Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay, and your blessing, Baruch, Ata, Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech Ha'olam, Asher, Kiddishanu, B'mitzvotav, V'tzivanu, Al, Netilat, Yadayim. Very good. Put that inside there. Sit. Go meditate. Hello. Very good. So twice onto your right hand. By the way, you don't have to wash into a vessel. You can actually wash into the sink, as usually most people do. But we don't have a sink. Local people will wash directly into a sink. Baruch, Ata, Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech Ha'olam, Asher, Kiddishanu, B'mitzvotav, V'tzivanu, Al, Netilat, Yadayim. Very good. Next up, come around. There you go. 1, 2. And 1, 2. Very good. And the blessing, Baruch, Ata, Adonai, Eloheinu, Asher, Kiddishanu, V'tzivanu, Al, Netilat, Yadayim. Beautiful side there. Okay, come forward. There you go. For the left hand, twice into the right. And twice onto the left. And the blessing, Baruch, V'tzivanu, Al, Netilat, Yadayim. Beautiful. Put them inside there. Beautiful. Okay, hang in there, people. This is good for you. Okay, twice onto your right. And twice onto your left. Perfect. Baruch. Asher, Kiddishanu, B'mitzvotav, V'tzivanu, Al, Netilat, Yadayim. You're beautiful. Very, very good. And actually, whenever people eat bread, really this is what they should be doing, but we are obligated to do it on Shabbat. And you're up. 1, 2. And 1, 2. Baruch, Asher, Kiddishanu, B'mitzvotav, V'tzivanu, Al, Netilat, Yadayim. Very, very good. And last but not least, yeah. Good. Very, very good. Okay, let's break some bread together. Look at this. Look, he's like the king, like the king of the castle. This is what not to wear on a Shabbat. But since it's a Tuesday night, this is okay. You're looking good. Okay. So you'll notice that the challahs are covered. A couple of reasons why. One reason is really you're meant to make a blessing over the bread first. But since it's Shabbat, you have to make a blessing over the wine first to welcome in the Shabbat. So we don't want to embarrass the challah. Inanimate objects, right? We take care of them. So we cover over the challah. Okay? That's one reason. The real reason, that's a real reason, but another reason is that the bread represents the manna that fell for the Jewish people while we were in the desert for 40 years after leaving Egypt. And the manna was covered, the man, this food that came from Shema, from the heavens, was covered with a layer underneath and a layer on top. So we always put a tablecloth down or a board, and we put cover over the top of the challah. Usually the challahs are put together. Okay, don't worry, we won't need this. You're going to take the covers off the challah. you're going to pick up the challahs with both hands and you're going to put them together. And you're going to put them together, that's it. And you're going to have in mind, you're going to make this blessing on behalf of everyone over here. And all of you are going to have in mind this blessing which is about to be made for you, okay? And the blessing is Baruch Atah
Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam
Hamotzi
Hamotzi
Lechem Min Haaretz.
Haaretz.
Very, very good. Don't talk. You can put them down. Okay, you take one challah. This one looks better. Give it a rip. And you're going to dip it. Ooh, okay, take it. Oh, you're hungry today. Okay, you're taking a bit. Let's go. Shh, no talking. Very good, very good. So take a bit for yourself. You're going to dip that. You dip in the salt. Very, very good. And you take a bite and you eat it. And then we basically take this for everyone else. Could you give me a plate, please? Okay, my hands are clean, I promise. Okay. Okay. And people make challahs in different ways. Whole wheat challahs, oat challahs. They put different things on it, different things. There's poppy seeds. You can do whatever you want. My wife likes to make challah, which, by the way, is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Take a piece. Once you've swallowed, you can talk.
Sweet.
Good challah?
Very good.
Looks good, actually. Take one and pass.
I have a question. Why do you dip it in salt?
We're going to talk about that in a moment. Right now, everyone here needs to eat. So everyone, please go right ahead, grab some food, and when you get back, this is whole wheat, yeah. This is whole wheat. Pretty good, right?
I like the fatty one the best.
We had a guy on the last Mitzvah program. His family worked in the challah business, and they have a kosher store in Fairlawn, New Jersey. He brought a square challah with chocolate chips inside. Oh, you have no idea.
That one, he made a chocolate chip cinnamon sugar.
I like challah cake. Challah cake. It's hard to tell the difference at that point. Okay, grab some food and knives and forks, and we'll talk some more. Gee,
Me? What?
you vegetarian?
For today.
Oh, usually you're not though. You eat a lot of meat?
I do.
You look like a meat eater. You have carnivore written all over you.
I do about 2 to 3 pounds of ground turkey or chicken a day.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Okay, just so you know, you're not a vegetarian. When someone asks you, say no. Yeah, pass the challah down.
For today, I said.
For today. 2 to 3 pounds of ground turkey every day.
If you guys want to
Oh yeah, you have to like keep protein high.
know.
Yeah. He's eating an entire bird a day, no wonder he's eating that.
Looks like you have to live life on the edge.
Yeah. Stanford, turkey.
Put it this way, people were getting so funny because everybody would go out and buy models of
Okay, you may continue eating. There is a custom to give a Devar Torah, words of Torah, while we're eating the Shabbos meal. So I'm going to do that right now. And what is up with Shabbat is the question. Why do we make such a big deal out of it? Jewish holidays appear once a year. How many Pesachs do we have a year? 1, which is great news for my wife, who does all the cleaning. How many Sukkots do we have a year? 1. How many Yom Kippurs do we have a year? 1. Thank goodness for that as well, right? How many Rosh Hashanahs?
6.
Oh, very good, actually. There's actually 4 New Years, but only 1 Rosh Hashanah, only 1 head of the New Year. And how many Shabbats? 52, right? So why do we have so much of our life? Actually, 1/7 of our lives are spent in this world called Shabbat. 1/7 of our life is spent in this suspended animation of no creative action, no work, no tweeting, no Facebooking, no BBMing. You don't do that anymore? Is that finished, right? No iPhoning, no Facebook. We are completely removed from anything which is creative or, in our generation, electronic. And we go to this world called Shabbat. Now, the word Shabbat, what does it actually mean? So Shabbat means to rest. To rest. Now, if I would create a Jewish Sabbath, which is all about rest, what I would do is I would say from 7 to 9 every night, no more work. That'd be a better time for it. A long, hard day. And the Jewish people rest every night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Wouldn't that be a better way to do it? Yet, we don't do that. What do? We spend one entire day resting. The word Shabbat means something else. And it means shuv, to return. Shuv is to, that's the root of the word. We are going back. What are we going back to? Different opinions. Some say we're going back to ourselves, because all week we're running around like crazy individuals, working and studying and being parents or whatever we're doing with ourselves. And on Shabbat we go back to ourselves. We're going back to our people and our families, and ultimately go back to God. So the rest isn't just physical rest, it is a physical rest as well. But as well as that, we are resting from the hard physical work life and returning to ourselves. And ultimately that really means returning to God, which means a spiritual existence. Because you could work 7 days a week, and you could work hard, and you could work long, but then you're not appreciating life because you're here for a reason. And this day is a very important day. There was a scholar who once said, more than the Jewish people keep Shabbat, the Shabbat keeps the Jewish people. Let me be very clear to you, holy Jews. The reason we are here as a nation today is not because of Yom Kippur, that helps. It's not because of Sukkot, that also helps. And not because of Purim, that really helps. We're here because of Shabbat. Shabbat has kept us unified, focused. And there's two reasons in the Torah why we keep Shabbat. One reason is given, and by the way, Shabbat is the only ceremony that is mentioned on the Ten Commandments. And the Ten Commandments are mentioned twice in the Torah. And the two reasons are, because God created the world, the universe, and everything, and then took us out. God created the world and He rested. And the second reason is that we were slaves in Egypt and then we were set free. So there's two reasons. That's very unusual. That's the reason for keeping Shabbat. Because of that, I can't, go to work for that 1 day a week. And the answer is, they're perfect answers. Because we were slaves, but we're no longer slaves. And slaves don't take time off and relax and drink wine and eat fine food and eat meat and sing and hang out with family. You're not a slave. But then again, God created the world and the universe and everything. We're not God. And if we work 7 days a week, we may think that we're God. The illusion of omnipotence. But we're not. And thereby we take 1 day, or God tells us to take 1 day aside. You know what's really fascinating? You know there's no astronomical 7-day cycle. There's a 30-day cycle. There's a 1 day cycle. There's a 365-day cycle involving the sun and the moon. But we all, the entire world pretty much, follows a 7-day cycle. There's no astronomical 7-day cycle. It comes from one place and one place only. What's that? The Torah. That's the only place we ever find 7 days. It's as though there's a 7-day rhythm that the world goes through. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1 again. The world is shuv. It returns back to its original state. And by doing this, we are actually becoming like God. We, the Jewish people, connect and become like God this 1 day every week. Now the Shabbat, let me add another incentive to add this day to your life. The Shabbat is called Makor HaBracha, which means the source of all blessing. One of the songs we sing at the Friday night table is a word saying Makor HaBracha. Shabbat is the source of all blessing. We sing this in our synagogues and we sing other songs. What is Makor HaBracha? That means that all blessing we have during the week comes from Shabbat. The Kabbalists say that the work week is like a garden. And you look around the garden and there's a lot of blessing we have. Beautiful trees, families, hopefully healthy children, we make a living, we're physically healthy. And we see this wonderful garden that we live in called this world. And we're like, wow, where does all the sustenance come from? Where is the source of all this goodness? And you see in the middle of the garden this beautiful lake. And there's little rivers coming out of it, which is sustaining the whole garden. So too is Shabbat. Shabbat is the middle. And from it comes the entire week. Actually, we call Shabbat the 7th day, but really, Shabbat is the middle of the week. And Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are on one side, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are on the other side. So we have 3 facing this way, and 3 facing this way, and 1 in the middle. What does that sound like? 3 days over here, 3 days over there. Very, very good. the original menorah in the temple in Jerusalem. That was the menorah. Now let's talk about that. What do we do with the menorah? We lit it. What else did we do? We used to bring sacrifices in the temple of meat that were eaten by the people there. They used to take wine and do libations, pour the wine onto the altar. They used to have breads. They used to have the Torah, the ark had the Torah. They used to have salt they would pour onto the sacrifices. Wow, sounds familiar. We have wine on our Shabbos table. We have breads. We have salt. We have meat. We have the table. They had a table they used to have in the temple as well, the shulchan. We have a table as well. So we've taken that experience from the holiest place that's called the temple in Jerusalem, and we are recreating it at our homes. You see, what people fail to realize is they think that the temple was destroyed thousands of years ago, and now we have synagogues. And that's not true. The temple was destroyed, and now we have the Jewish home. And we recreate that experience. When? On Shabbat. So we actually combine two of the holiest things, time and space. Wherever you live in this world, you're living in those two worlds, time and space. What's the holiest place? That is Jerusalem and the Holy Temple. Always has been. No matter where a person is, our eyes are always facing towards Jerusalem. We pray, synagogues, and we pray towards Jerusalem. What's the holiest time? That's Shabbat. A lot more than Yom Kippur. How many times more? At least 52. 52 of them. The more you have it, the more you need it. So we take the holiest time and the holiest place and we combine it. And that's the Shabbat table. And what do we do around it? We eat and we rejoice. And we take the food and we lift it up to a higher purpose. And it's a time of physicality. Because we spoke about one of the earlier classes, how do we Jews connect spiritually? We connect spiritually by connecting and lifting up the physical. We don't shun and say, oh, those are evil sins, there's lust, those things. We say, no, we want to take them and we want to mekadesh them, make them holy, separate them, designate them for a higher purpose. That's Shabbat. And I'll tell you that there is no greater time in my life than Shabbat, because the whole week, I don't really get to see my wife and my kids too much. They're running around, she's running around, and the kids are there. I walk to the house sometimes, the kids start screaming, Mom, who's that strange man in the house? That's your father, don't worry. You haven't seen him in a couple of days. That's kind of life we lead. But one day a week, and this is very healthy as well, this is not the reason, but it's a benefit, we stop and we reflect and we return to ourselves. We turn away from the insanity of the entire week, and we get one day a week that we get to sit and to read and to learn and to connect and to disconnect from the outside world. So we don't just play golf on Shabbat. We spend a little time in the synagogue, those who want to go, but the rest of the time is spent at home, with family, with friends, with loved ones, eating, drinking, singing. How many meals do we eat on Shabbat? 3 meals. One Friday night, one Shabbat day, and on Shabbat day they have hot food as well, which is cooked before Shabbat. Okay? And then there's a third meal just before Shabbat goes out, right, called Shalosh Sudas, or Sudas Lashit, the third meal, which is the final one before the Sabbath goes out. I want to share with you an expression. We'll finish with this. There's an expression, a very unusual expression. You know you're not allowed to cook on Shabbat. Right? You cook before Shabbat, you have food. Some people have cholent or tafin in different communities that's cooked before and then kept on flame as Shabbat comes in, so they have hot food on Shabbat. So they make a very strange comment in the Talmud, in the Jewish teachings. And they say that a person who cooks on Erev Shabbat and prepares on Erev Shabbat, that means the day before on Friday, will get to eat on Shabbat. That's obvious. If you don't cook Erev Shabbat before Shabbat, you're not going to eat on Shabbat. So they say, I'll tell you why. Because Shabbat is connected to something else, the next world. You see, in the next world, the name of the next world, one of the names is Kulu Shabbat, the world that is all Shabbat. When our souls leaves our bodies, it goes to the spiritual realm. It goes to Shemayim, to the heavens. And that heavens are called Shabbat. Why? What am I doing over there? Exactly what you're doing here. You're not working. You're just enjoying and reaping the benefits of what you put into life. So 1 second. So the next world is called the world that is all Shabbat. So when it says whoever prepares before Shabbat gets to eat on Shabbat, what they're actually saying is whoever prepares themselves in this world and cooks up their life with mitzvot and good deeds in this world will get to eat of their good deeds in the next world. So Shabbat now becomes a metaphor for the next world. So if someone says to you, can you define heaven in Judaism? How do you define heaven? Right? The Christians, they love heaven. They're all about heaven and hell. You know, we Jews, we get married, we know hell. Right? We know what it's all about. So what is the idea? So we say, you know what? Shabbat. Shabbat is me'ein olam haba. It's a piece of the next world. If you want to understand the next world, you've got to tap into Shabbat. Shabbat is the perfect metaphor for understanding what the next world is. Just returning to our true essence, our true soul self. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what life would be like without Shabbat. It's a time when really I get to just stop, and otherwise, believe me, I'm on my phone, and I get phone calls, and every phone call Rabbi gets always an emergency. No one ever calls the Rabbi, hey, how you doing? I'm like, fine, what's going on? No, just checking in. No. There's always a relationship emergency. There's always someone which came non-kosher. There's always someone over here. There's always like questions to discuss. Shabbat comes, you're in my area, you're my family. That's the way it works. And it takes time. You can't jump in and grab all of Shabbat at once. Right? Try to keep Shabbat the way it's meant to be kept. You have to learn how to do it. It takes time and effort and energy. But at least you start with a Friday night. You start with a candle lighting before the sun goes down. You do a Friday night meal, and then you increase it. And eventually you'll flex your Shabbat muscles. And really, at some point, you won't know how you lived without Shabbat. Because I know for 25 hours, every single week, from when the sun goes down to when the sun goes down, I am in the world, the zone that is Shabbat. And a very beautiful thing it is. How do we take out the Shabbat? So we will do another ceremony. And if you look outside, the sun's gone down. That means Shabbat is now out. So we're going to make our way back to the table for the Havdalah ceremony. Julie, is there a Havdalah candle here anywhere? No?
Did Ellie ever show you the trick?
Are you going to know how to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, you're up. Could you bring me the wine cup, please? Oh, I forgot to do something. I forgot to go do the bracha. Brachas banim. Okay, let's do that. I did leave something out, and I want to do it right now, if you don't mind. There is a custom to bless the children, which usually is done at the beginning of the meal. I want to show you how that works. And thank you so much. Don't go too far. Since yes, you have to be blessed. That hurt my hand more than it hurt his arm. Okay. So if you want to see it's, I'll read it out for you. It's page 11, the blessing of the children. There's a different blessing for the son and for the daughter. Okay? So since you are a son, yeah, that's okay, you can get up. Okay, usually arms go down, this case goes up. And the custom is to put the hands upon the head, because the hands, once again, are the vehicle of action, and the blessing will flow through the fingers of the hands, and it goes down, and we say, Simcha Elohim, God should make you, Ephraim v'Menashe, like Ephraim and Menashe. Who they were Joseph's two sons, who kept loyal to their Judaism in the land of Egypt before all their cousins and uncles came down into Egypt. So they are the perfect Jewish boys. Yivarech Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yeh Adonai panav alecha v'yichaneka, Yisad Adonai panav alecha v'yasemecha shalom. And you kiss him, and he goes and sits down. Okay? And that is the blessing for the son. And we'll have a daughter. It's okay, I'm not going to kiss you, don't worry about it. But if you were my daughter, I would. And you have a Havdalah candle. Oh, God bless you. Fantastic. Okay? And the blessing for the daughter is slightly different. We don't ask her to be like Menashe and Ephraim. We ask her to be like Sarah, Rivka. How do you know that? Very good. That's right. You read it. Okay, no problem. Okay? So with hands of blech. Yisimach Elohim Sarah Rivka Rachel Yivarech Adonai v'Yisrael Adonai Panav Alecha v'Yichaneka Yisad Adonai Panav Alecha v'Yaseh Shalom. Okay, and that's the blessing that's bestowed upon you and every child. And you start with the oldest child that goes down. And the younger kids are going to fight back. Don't let them. Something happens about me, number 1, number 3, and number 5. And that is the blessing itself. Okay, so you do that at the beginning of the meal. But now it's Motzei Shabbat. Now it is Shabbat's done. The sun has gone down. The stars, at least a few of them, are out. And by the way, if in your home your Shabbat candles are still lit Saturday night, you are an extremely holy Jewish woman, just so you know that, okay? So we're going to light the candles. Now, this candle is slightly different from the Shabbat candles. Does anyone know why? It's multiple wicks, right? So why do we have a multiple wick? Okay, so different answers to this one. One answer is because on Shabbat comes it was separate candles. We were separate a little bit. But then on Shabbat, all our candles, all our lights are together. So there is a unity that comes with the ceremony itself, and it's a much brighter and stronger light. So we have a few things over here. Megan, could you get me the Basamim up on there, please? We have a few things we're going to use for our Havdalah ceremony. There is a custom, by the way, to have the youngest person hold the Havdalah candle. Who's the youngest person here? Can we work that out? Up there, right here, next to the candle over here. Who's the youngest person over here?
Who's under 25?
Okay. He already got a blessing. Come for it. You had a blessing, right? Hold that like that. Okay. That's okay. So it's not going to drip on you like that. So we have various things. We have wine. We have the candle. We're going to make a blessing. And we have besamim, which are spices. Spices could be cinnamon, for example, or cloves. My mother used to put cloves in my tooth when I had toothache as a kid, so I don't like the smell. I like cinnamon, which is actually good for you as well. Okay? This blessing can be found, those who are following, towards the end. And that is going to be, where's Havdalah? Excuse me, circumcision, no, we don't need that. Okay, not again. Okay, 1 second. Here we go, thank you so much. 53, absolutely correct. Okay, so basically we're going to smell the spice, we're going to taste the wine, we're going to see the fire, we say the blessings. All of our senses are involved in this part of the ceremony, and it's usually sung to a certain tune. Hinel Yeshuati Yeftach V'lo Evchad Ki Aziv Zimratya Adonai V'hi Yeshua Shavtem Mayim B'Sason Mimani Yeshua Adonai Yeshua Alam Bacha Bechatecha Sal Adonai Tzvatim Manu Miskav Lanu El Yaakov Sal Adonai Tzvatim Hashem B'Dach Bach Adonai Shia Melech Hanein V'Yom Kareinu. Everyone say together, La Yehudim Ma'atar V'Simcha Sasivikar. To the Jewish people there should be happy, light and joy and happiness and goodness. Kenti Elanu, so it should be for us. Kos Shurasa of Hashem Adonai Kra. I shall lift up his cup and make a blessing. And sometimes they sing a tune. Lai lai na 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 na. Okay, whatever. Okay, and they make the blessing over the wine, which I'll make for learning purposes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagefen. And then the blessing over the spices, which is made by one person, then it's passed around, everyone gets a sniff of them. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei besamim. Take a sniff. Oh, that one right up my nose. Oh. Woo! That was good. And then we make the blessing over the flames, which is Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei marei eish. And there's a custom to hold your nails up just so you can use the flame in some constructive way. And then the final blessing, which I'll make, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol ben ol l'choshech ben Yisrael ben yom hashvi l'sheish yom ha'maseh. Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. Wine is drunk. At that point, Shabbat is over. And the custom is to take that and to dip it in the wine. Don't burn yourself. Great job. And then, according to the Kabbalistic sources, you smell some of that. You may have seen people take a little bit of the wine and put it on the back of their head. Why is not for now? We'll leave that. And that's really the holy Sabbath day. We say Shavua Tov, good week. Shavua Tov. Okay, we're going to take a break.